picking up from
It's just too bad you don't write very descriptively, Hilary. I couldn't picture any of that at all. My goodness.
Well, here's the embarrassing thing. I have to admit that I was at Machu Picchu in. Sorry, what was that?
Sorry, you're both welcome to sit if you like.
Oh, I'm fine standing.
I prefer to stand
Thank
too.
you. Yeah. No, I visited Peru as a travel journalist several years ago. I guess late 2007. And it was sort of shoulder season, beginning of the rainy season. And so when I first got up there, the mountain was just covered in fog, and you really couldn't see anything. You're standing on a mountaintop and just seeing fog everywhere. But it started to clear up, the sun burned it off, and this incredible Inca city came into view. Machu Picchu was the sort of the famous lost city of the Incas. And so finally the site came into view, and there were these staircases running up and down the side of the mountain, and these terraces the Incas had cut out of it. And the first words out of my mouth were, "This would be the perfect place to kill someone." And my husband, who was traveling with me, said, "I don't think I want to travel with you anymore," which I understand is a very reasonable response. But what I saw was this kind of great place where there was a combination of beauty and danger all in one spot. And that was part of what inspired me to write the book. And as you get into the book, you find out that Len, the boyfriend with this woman, doesn't come forward. Lily does manage to find him, and she also manages to find that he has a trail of dead and missing women in his past. His first wife died in a strange accident, his second wife has gone missing, and she becomes determined to find justice for these women. So that would be the path that she has to take on. That's not me talking about this right now.
Oh, I was interested.
Tell us about the girl next door. I'm interested in hearing about that, and you know what? I've got to admit, I've not had the chance to read this yet. But
that's it. I'm leaving.
Having loved your first two books the way that I did, I absolutely can't wait. So, tell me
Yeah. So, The Girl Next Door. It's funny. You know, some authors. It's interesting that you knew the exact spot where your book started. Because I think a lot of times authors can't do that, you know. But I can in this book too, though. Because it was basically I was a newspaper reporter, and I can even give you the exact day. It was July 30th, 2008, and I was a reporter with the Newark Star-Ledger in New Jersey, and the publisher of the paper called us all down to the classified area, where he told us, and mind you, this is the 11th largest newspaper in the country, and he told us basically that our newspaper was on life support, and that it was going to be shut down within the next year, well, at the end of the year, unless two things happened. One, various unions needed to agree to give backs on their contracts, and two, they needed 150 newsroom personnel to take voluntary buyouts and leave their jobs. I remember this day quite clearly, not only because it was the start of this book, but because it was the end of my newspaper career. And it became a thing where I had been writing fiction for a while, and had actually written my first book and was about to write my second, but when it came time to sit down to write the third, like this event, this very catastrophic thing, I mean, I'd been a newspaper reporter all my life. It wasn't just what I did or, you know, my job. I mean, it really was my identity. It was how I thought, it was how I looked at the world. And I kind of had to write about this event that had really ended my newspaper career, and so I sort of started off. Now, but this is the fun thing, of course, about being a fiction writer, being a mystery writer in particular, and that is, if there's someone you don't like that you've tripped across, you can make him a character, and then you can mess with him. So, for example, there's a publisher character in this book who you probably won't like very much. This is not a coincidence. There's contentious union negotiations. Believe it or not, where unions in New Jersey come together, there have been known to be violence. I know it's hard to believe that this could happen.
Shocking.
I know, but so there's a lot of that going on. And basically, the girl next door refers to the victim in the book, which is this newspaper delivery girl / waitress who Carter reads about in an obituary, actually, and decides, wouldn't it be nice to kind of write a tribute to this woman who gave her life serving others in this very small way, kind of a fanfare for the common woman kind of a thing. Except when he starts getting into writing his tribute, he discovers that her death, which he thought was in a hit-and-run accident, well, the hit-and-run was no accident. And in fact, there were people conspiring to kill her, yada, 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 yada. So this is sort of what's going on in the book when we get to the part where I'm going to read to you. Now, one element of all my books, there's always an intern in every book that are mostly brought on stage for the comic effect, don't get me wrong. And in this book, the intern is a 6'5", 250-pound former college tight end who everybody is calling Lunky, right? But, and he kind of bumbles around and nobody thinks he's very much. But Carter Ross, the protagonist, has discovered that in fact Lunky is actually a closeted Philip Roth scholar who has only come to Newark, New Jersey to better understand Roth's milieu before heading off to Princeton to get his PhD in literature. So he's kind of an unexpected guy. So anyhow, however, because this newspaper is declining and they're laying off people, et cetera, well, what should happen but a bear is spotted wandering through Newark, New Jersey. Newark being a very urban place, and therefore we don't expect a bear to be there. And so even though Carter Ross is supposed to be an investigative reporter, well, they're so short-staffed, they send him and Lunky out to write about this bear. Which Carter is like, this is a ridiculous assignment, he's a real reporter, he shouldn't be writing about this stuff. And so he figures if he can just get Lunky set up with this bear, he'll make Lunky, the intern, do all the work. And then Carter can go off and really be investigating the girl next door and nobody will notice. So that's kind of what's happening when we get to this part of the book.